Welcome to Sound of the Gjallarhorn, where faith, tradition, and philosophy meet the modern world. Here is your host, Mark Greer.
Welcome to the show, everyone, and hail the gods and goddesses. I'm your host, Mark Pereira, here on another episode of Sound of the Gjallarhorn. Now, today, I want to tell everybody about a big project we've got moving forward. It's really, really exciting. We have a lot of people who are jumping board on this. Not everybody who's jumping on board are members of the society, but it's still cool. I mean, that's fine. We're actually embracing that. We think it's going to be a great thing. So what we're going to be talking about today is the Arvidsson Project. Now, the Arvidsson Project, we named it after Adolf Arvidsson, who collected a series of works, basically collected folk songs in his book called Svenska Fornsanger. And this collection is in 4 volumes. It's over 500 folk songs, about 500 around there. And some of these folk songs are actually connected to the gods. There's Proud Lord Alf that you hear. That's the outro of this show every time we play it. It's, at the very end, I'll play a little clip from it. And that's, that was our very first one. It was Bob Falkenstein helped us do that. We appreciate that, Bob. And, this is the launching point. Now we've kind of changed our focus a little bit in the Norroena Society. We're trying to, streamline things. We're taking it kind of back to the original plan. And because, I started writing books, I get everything going, you get members coming in and stuff like that. And you're trying to organize things and you try to figure out the best way to get people involved and stuff like that. And it takes trial and error, and it sometimes takes a long time. And we've actually found this has actually been really successful for us. So what we're going to do is, like when I started the Fundamentals Project, was to focus on one thing at a time, right? And I kind of deviated from that because I was trying to organize different groups of people, and trying to make everything happen all at once. And that just wasn't taking place. It was really just kind of hindering a lot of things. So what we're doing now is we're really literally focusing on one thing at a time. Now, there are some people who aren't interested in the Arvidsson Project. Some people are just focusing on, other things that they're more interested in, and that's fine. But the society as a whole right now at this moment is going to focus on our music fundamental. And the Arvidsson Project is the launching point of all of that. We're going to collect folk songs from all over, the Teutonic world, and we're going to categorize them. We're going to translate them. We're going to set them to music when we have to. We're going to find the music when we can. I mean, this is what we're going to do. And the reason, I wanted to do this is because I had discovered Arvidsson a long time ago, and we call it the Arvidsson Project, not because it's only going to be a translation of Arvidsson's books. It's just that he's the springboard. I mean, this is really what launched this for me. This was the big discovery for myself, because I was like, we can do this. We can make something happen with this. This is something that can work. And, we already have Proud Lord Alf of it. There's actually a folk song version of Thrimskvida where Thor's hammer is stolen, and the song is called The Hammer Stolen. And so this is, how the project is going to manifest is from this book. Now, I found another book by Geyer. His name, it's called Svenska Folkvisor. And this is another book that we can use. The good thing about this one is he actually has sheet music that connects to him. So we can utilize that. We're not going to, I've been looking at some of these songs, and I think that when we translate them in English, there's going to obviously have to be some alterations made to fit rhythm, to fit music, to fit song. I mean, the idea is to have that connection to the ancestors, but not like totally focus on this has to be exactly this way. We want to make something that's useful, not something that's actually perfect. You know what I'm saying? It's got to be something that is that we can use within our rights and to bring back this tradition. Now, why would we want to bring back this tradition? I mean, these are old folk songs. Nobody's heard them in a long, long time. And the reason why I think that this is something that's important is, and why I think that this is a worthy project for all of us, is because this is another aspect. This is another fundamental. That's the point of the fundamentals, is so that each aspect, each line of tradition that's recovered and rebuilt is something that we can, carry on with us and move to the next generation and make it a tradition, What is a tradition? A tradition is something that's repeated over and over again until it becomes a part of your everyday life, until it becomes a part of your, your sort of repetitive thing that you do every time, with marriages, with seasons, with, deaths, with everything that happens in your life. These are the traditions. So, and the importance of music is so vital. It's just so vital to, any culture. I mean, this is something that I've told people for years. You look at the way that ceremony is performed, right? And I perform bloats. When I perform bloats, I always sing my bloats, right? And that's not a lot of people do that. And the reason why is because we have been generated sort of a Hollywood image of what a sacrifice or what an honoring of, ancient gods looks like. And this is always, spoken in prose, and it's always, looking up and very epic and ominous, and it has a lot of drama to it and stuff like that. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I mean, people do their rites the way they do them. I'm just trying to have that connection. And, when I see passages like when they talk about Odin speaks only in poetry and song, and you have Bragi, the god of poetry and song, and the Ynglinga saga mentions the gods as the songsmiths. I mean, obviously song is very important, and singing is very important. And it's not just the act of singing a ritual, which is super important. It's not only important because it's mentioned in our sources over and over again, but it's also important because it's, basically a staple of any cultural belief system. And I mean, just look at any of them. Look at any single ritual that's performed by anybody anywhere, and you're always going to see one principal uniting factor, and that factor is music. They sing their rituals. They always do. There's only one single belief system in the world that we know of that only speaks their religious expressions or rites, and that's Protestant Christianity. Even Catholics sing their rituals. So the idea of singing, of song, is something that is so vital. It's so important to bring it back. It's important to bring back the joy. It's important to bring back the silliness sometimes. It's important to bring back the happiness that comes with it. We are not actors in a Hollywood movie. We are not trying to put on a display of, of a drama that we saw on some TV show or something like that. We're trying to revitalize a religious spiritual system, and the more tools that we can utilize in building that and creating that spiritual connection, the better it's going to be for all of us. The more our faith is going to grow, the more spiritual concepts that we can develop for our people. And that's what's important, because polytheism is expressed in many ways. You look at a major Hindu festival, right, and how they celebrate it. There's so many aspects of their culture on display when it happens. And every person who's expressing that, the person who just pours the tea, the person who makes the food, the person dancing in the streets, the person who's, moving the fire, and the person who does this, these are things that are actually passed down for generations through families. They're given a duty within this festival, and that's what they do. And it's their spiritual connection to the gods and goddesses. And that's what we need. It's saying, as a polytheist, that you are important through your expression towards the gods. Not everybody's going to be a priest. Not everybody's going to be a priestess. Not everybody's going to be a scholar. Not everybody's going to be an academic, who studies rites and rituals and prayers and all that stuff. Some people are going to be cooks. Some people are going to be dancers. Some people are going to be musicians. And that's their prayer to the gods. So when we uncover these fundamentals, every one of them that we uncover are so vital, because you're opening up a new spiritual expression. You're opening up a new doorway for people to connect to their belief system. If you just leave it within the realm of runes and rituals, the religion will stagnate and die. because that's what it's going to just end up being it's going to stay within the realm of rebellion against Christianity. We don't want that. We want the religion to grow. We want it to get stronger. And we want people to feel that they can have that connection. Saying a person might tell themselves, I don't feel a connection to just performing bloats. I like going to bloats, but it's not something that really speaks to me. So I may want to perform a dance. I may want to sing a song. And people need to feel like this is something that they can do and express themselves in a traditional way, connected to a body of tradition that's for their clan or their hearth or their kindred or whatever they have. And it's something that is important to them. And the thing is that you're going to find is when you bolster that and you push that and you tell that person, yes, let's do this, then that opens up a whole new door for them and for your group, because then you have a new form of spiritual expression and you have a way that they can build a whole new traditional body, right? It's a whole new thing. It's not just about rituals. It's about something more, something greater. This is their connection to the gods. And we know from the sources that this connection is vital. I mean, think of the Rig Veda, one of the oldest sources that's connected to our religion, Hindu religion, Indo-European religion, and stuff like that. The entire book is a book of songs. It's a song book. And that pretty much tells you how important that is. So this is why this is important. And so when we're looking at these folk songs, and I want to, we're looking at Arvidsson. We have a Svenska Fornsanger. Now I want to give a little side note real quick. Now when I found this book in Jacob Grimm's Germanic mythology, Deutsch mythology book, and he mentions Arvidsson many times as a source, and he uses it in his book, and we can look through that as a research method, but he uses him as a source, and I was like, wait, there's folk songs that mention the gods. Like I wanted to see this immediately, and I started looking, and I was able to find it, and I was so excited because here we have another source that mentions our gods and goddesses, which is great. And the thing is that when I'm, another thing he mentions this book, Svenska Fornsanger, which we have found. He mentioned also Danska Fornsanger, which is Danish, and I've yet to find that. So if anybody knows where that might be, let me know. Send me a link. I'll love to look it over. So, but it's not going to be just that. I mean, we can look at Norwegian folk songs. We can look at Finnish folk songs, Icelandic. I know that the Faroese have a large tradition. Now, their tradition, which involves folk dance as well, has songs that are like hours and hours long. But we can take excerpts of those songs and make songs because, we have to adapt it to who we are today and where we're at. And, these are events for them that would be like huge parties that would take like 3 days long and stuff like that. And that's not always practical. So, but we can take excerpts from them. We can take excerpts from the Eddas. I know that Njal Saga has a really cool song, the Valkyrie song. I've always liked that song. I thought it was cool. And then we are going to organize everything. Now, the organization is important. It's key to all of this because the organization is going to be basically how we're going to implement it. We're not creating songs for entertainment purposes. And this is where there's going to be a little bit of a disconnect from how we typically view music, right? Because in our modern world, we typically see music as an entertainment expression, right? And entertainment expressions, they don't have a sacred connection to them. There is no purpose behind them. That's just for your entertainment. And I'm here just to make you happy, just to make you enjoy me and give me money, right? But here we're looking at something sacred. But we're also looking at themes. We're looking at, we're basically categorizing this under the 8 major bloats and the 6 rites of passage, right? You have like Thora bloat, Ostra, Mayday or Beltane, we call it Falstag, Midsummer, Leif bloat, House bloat, Vetra bloat, Yule, the major 8 major rites. And I mean, I know that the calendars are always varying and all that stuff, but we're just going to focus on this because it's easier. You may change dates and stuff like that, but let's just focus on this, and then we'll work on that, because I know that these rites, because they're based on seasons, you're going to be able to find folk songs, like, say, songs that are just for, like, the spring. They're not necessarily connected to the gods, but there might be a really great song that's a spring song that's from the ancient times, because they did that. They would just honor the season. You're gonna then you have the 6 rites of passage. We can look at laments for death. We can look at wedding songs. We can look at childbirthing songs. We can look at there's just so much out there, about this. We just got to find it, And then there's a formula that we developed within in our research that we put in the Senda book, which is our book of ceremonies, where we see the gathering, even though typically people call it a bloat, because that's the name that's been passed down, like Thora bloat and Oster bloat and Midsummer's bloat and stuff like that. But the actual gathering was called a Vesla, and that represents the entire gathering. And the entire gathering was broken up into 3 sections: the lake, which is the fun time, the game time of games, gathering, drinking, hanging out, having fun. Then you have the raid, which is the procession, and then you have the bloat, which is the sacrifice, the ritual. So when we look at these themes, right? Lake is time of fun. So these would be songs that would be fun and exciting and energetic and stuff that we would enjoy. And then we could look at the wraith, which would be more moving and processional and kind of epic. And then the bloat, which would be more solemn and quiet, right? So this is how we want to look at this and see how can we categorize these things, because there's so many ways to do it, and we just want to make sure that we have a system so that we always know where it's placed. Like the hammer stolen, okay? Somebody asked me, like, how could we possibly categorize this? And I'm like, it's simple. The thing that I typically think of when I think of Thrumskvida is I think of marriage, because the whole thing is centered around a wedding. It's a fake wedding, right? But it's a wedding, and it's a cool song. It's a cool thing. It's a humorous event in the god stories, and it's cool because it's like Thor goes in there dressed like a woman to trick the giants, and then he smashes them all, and so that's something that I think that would make a great wedding song. So we'd have to focus on that as a wedding song and make sure that it has that idea, in a wedding reception, because that's the main part of it, is the wedding reception, and then think of, like, how would we make this into a song for a wedding reception? And if we can find sheet music for that song, that's great, and we still have to look through these books, because I don't have these books in print yet. I'm looking through them online, so it's a little bit more difficult just to kind of flip through them back and forth and find what's what. But we're going to work through everything, right? So the thing is that on this project, we ask ourselves, what can we do? Because this isn't a project that, like, I'm undertaking myself. There's no way I can't. It involves way too many skills that I don't have, skills a lot of people don't have anymore, and it's something that we need to have. We need to train people. Maybe this could, inspire some people to start training in music so we can have more musicians out there to help us with this, right? Or just help, to play them, make music out of them, not just compose it and create it. But I'm saying, like, later on, once this is all built and we have a song book and we've put it together and we've done everything, this is going to be such a huge communal effort. It's going to be awesome. But once we have it done and we're finished, then we're going to need people to go out and play it, and be a part of the bloats with that aspect in mind. So the question is what can you do? How can you be involved? Because you might be thinking to yourself, well, I have no musical talent. I have no musical ability. I don't know what to do. And but the thing is that there's a place for a lot of different people here. There's a lot of different things. If you're motivated, you want to see this happen, you tell yourself, I want to go to a bloat where there's musicians, where they're playing these ancient songs. I want to hear that. I want to see that. If that's something that motivates you and moves you, we can find a place for you. Because, we're going to have, basically, there's several different titles that could be, that are going to be obtained for this. You'll have musicians, obviously, researchers, translators, organizers, and promoters. If you feel like you can do any of those things, then, give us a call. Give us a message. Let us know what's going on. Let us know that you want to be involved. We have a Facebook group that we set up for this just to keep it organized so that, whenever I find information, ideas, other people are sharing ideas, other people are sharing things. I mean, these are things that we can use and as we're putting it together. So you can get on that Facebook group. You can ask me, ask to be a part of it, and we'll put you on there, and you can give us your 2 cents, So we need to find musicians. We need to find bands. We need to find people who are willing to do this, people who appreciate our work, people who aren't going to start fights. I mean, we are, the Norroena Society is a folkish group, and, we don't want to have a bunch of people in there just picking fights on politics and garbage like that. It's not even about that. Like, I haven't really been looking at who is on what side of the spectrum, because I'm just trying to get this done. So if people who are involved, I mean, I'm telling you right now, I'm folkish. That's what our group is. That's what we do. We're doing this for folkish heathenry, and people can like that or not like it. That's their business. But, so we have things that we can do, ideas, come up with ideas for this. I mean, we can do research. These songs are out there. We just have to locate them. We have to locate sheet music. We have to locate the traditions for them. Find like the Arvidsson book and see what links to other books are connected to it. Like when you go into Google Books, and you can go into Amazon, and it'll say like, people also are interested in this. And then you just go down the line. You can literally sit there for hours and just go through stuff like that. And just, one connects to another, to another, to another, to another, and find other stuff, Keep looking. There's other people out there who've done research on this stuff, and we can find those people and ask them, where are you at on this? What did you find? What are your discoveries? And we could talk to people at universities and see what they think, and where can we go with this? We can look at technology. Can we use technology to set this music to sheet music? That would make things really easy, because if we could find a technology that does this and somebody could learn it and be really good at it, then all of us could come together who can play music. And I can play a little bit. I can, and I have an app that I can mix music with. We can do that and send it to them, and then it just creates sheet music. And I know that technology exists. I've seen it, but it like every time I saw it, looked really complicated. So maybe there's people who are interested in doing that. We can come up with ideas to connect songs to events. So those will be our organizers. So that's what we'll do right now. Let's go ahead and we can go over each one of the duties within this project, and then we'll explain like what you'll need to do. And I'll post this. I have like a little script here, and I'll put this on the Facebook group so that people can read it and know what they're doing, and then just decide. Tell us. And if you think that you can do this, tell us, and we'll just say that's what you are. If you're a musician, a researcher, a translator, an organizer, or a promoter. And that way we know who's who and who's doing what, right? So we'll start with the musicians. Now, if you're a musician, if you know sheet music, if you just want to play music, I mean, you don't have to know sheet music to be involved with this, but that's going to be something that we're going to need. We're going to need to figure out ways to make this sheet music so that everybody can learn from this and read it and play it. But so the one thing I would ask you to do if you're a musician is really find a song that you want to make into music. One song. Start with one. Don't overwhelm yourself. This is a big deal. I mean, this is a big project. We know that we're not going to be within the next 2 or 3 years translating, organizing, and putting to music 500 folk songs. We know that, all right? So find one song, one that you're interested in, one that you like. Make sure no one else is working on it. Then think to yourself, what culture is this? Like if you're looking at Svenska Folksanger or the Svenska Folkvisor, then that's obviously Swedish, right? So you're going to be thinking about the Swedish culture, the Swedish people. So immerse yourself in that culture's folk music. Listen to it. Listen to what they have. There's stuff out there that like modern folk music, or not, it's traditional, but it's still like after the Christian era and stuff like that. So listen to it. Listen to the notation. Listen to the sound of it. Try to feel that and make that a part of who you are, so you can connect to it, so that when you make the music, you're creating something that relates to the culture. We're not trying to create original works here. This is the difference. This is what we're saying. We're not trying to be artists. Even though we're not, because we're trying to create something that's sacred and traditional. So we're not looking for original works. We're looking for traditional works. So this is a whole new avenue. This is something you're going to have to train yourself to think about and to hear, right? So, but the artistic license is going to come in conforming the songs into what we're doing, right? So I mean, like when Bob did the Proud Lord Alf, he had to change some words here and there and all that stuff, and then fit the rhythm and figure out how to make it sound right. And he used the refrain to the best of his ability, which sounded great. And that's what you do. You figure out, how to make it. Like the first thing you want to do is try to figure out or think to yourself, how did this sound? Don't try to think like, how can I make this sound? First, you have to have it in your head. How did they sing this? How did they play this? Because this is what we're doing. I mean, we're kind of like part preservationists and part musicians and artists here, right? So that's what we want to look at. All right. So for researchers, now a lot of people like to research. I love to research. That's what I do, right? And so what we're going to do, if you're a researcher, if you're interested in being a researcher, and let us know, you want to look at the books we've listed and see what else is out there. Like I said, let one lead to another, let one go into another, and just start researching, finding folk song books that are out there that mention all of these songs and that might have some kind of ancient connection, some kind of ancient deal. I know that there are some English folk songs that I've seen. There was one I actually wrote an essay on called "All Hail to the Day." And the very beginning of it almost mimics exactly the Hail Dag and Sigdrifamal. And so that's a folk song that we can definitely use. There's a Scottish folk song, Tirabus, which, there's debate on the translation of it, but there's a part of it where it says, Tyr, save us, Odin and Tyr. And so, that's something we could look at. It's a bagpipe song, and it's pretty popular. I know it was pretty easy to find that one. But I mean, these are things that we can look at. But the purpose of it is to find, not to focus only on one culture, but to find what we can use as heathens. And then if other people want to translate, after we finish putting this book into English, because that's going to make it accessible to the largest group of heathens, then if other people want to translate this work into another language, that's great. We'll help them do that. But this is going to be where we start. So, when you're looking through, when you're researching these books, look for key words, names of deities. Always make sure when you're looking for a name of a deity, check the dialectical spelling, because you'll have, like Odin in Swedish is O-D-E-N. It's not O-D-I-N, right? Freya is sometimes spelled F-R-O-J-A, right? And Frey is sometimes Fro, F-R-O, and Thor is Tor, T-O-R. So you can't just always assume that it's going to be the spelling that you're used to. You can look for elves, trolls, dwarves, the season songs, like I said, laments, weddings. There's, just look for the key words, look for the things out there that that we're looking for, and then try to find them. I know it's like a needle in a haystack, but hey, that's what research is, right? You can talk to the people in the region with our goals in mind. The books, we're looking for stuff that's heathen in origin, heathen with heathen themes or heathen ideas, collected songs. And, we're obviously sheet music is going to be preferred, but we know that's not always going to be the case. So yeah, that's pretty much what you're going to be doing. All right. For translators, all right, if you're a translator, if you want to translate some of these works, and I've translated two of them so far, Proud Lord Alf and The Hammer Stolen, like I said. You want to make sure that the song can fit within the structure. All right, don't just jump into a book and start translating everything in that book, because that's going to be a lot of wasted effort. We want to focus on the songs that we know are going to be used. Right, songs with heathen themes, with mentions of the gods or mentions of seasons or whatever. You want to translate these with some form of rhythm in mind. I know when you're translating, sometimes you just word for word translation and all that stuff, but you want to try to keep it within a meter structure, and not, just word for word translation. It's not always going to be literal, and we're probably going to have to change it sometimes here and there to fit music and rhythm when we don't have sheet music. Once you have a translation, make sure you post it on our Facebook. That way people can start to mull over it, look at it, see if they want to pick it as a song that they want to put to music or work out or whatever. Then we can see other people might know where their sheet music exists on this, or we can move into composition. So yeah, that's that for translators. All right. So for organizers, now an organizer is going to be a person who's going to help us to fit the themes, right? the themes, we have to work within the 8 bloat, 6 right structure, 6 rites of passage structure, and see how a song may fit within it. We're going to think on the seasons and stages of life in the tune. Does it have a setting? Like, some people might think, well, this song right here is just a song about an adventure or something. Okay, well, is it set in winter? Maybe we can use it as a winter time, like a Thorabloat song or something like that. Is it, is there a mention of any kind of rite of passage or anything like that? I mean, you just think on the themes. And then if there is just something that just mentions the gods and there's like no place to put it, we might just use the instrumentation to create a theme for it, But we'll always try to make sure that it fits within a theme as much as we can. So once you have, and sometimes it's just gonna be how it feels. You're gonna just feel the song when you read it, feel the lyrics, and it's like, I feel that this is gonna work like this. And then you ask other people's ideas on thoughts and opinions on it, and they may agree. Hey, I think you're right. This would be good for this. Because the idea, and this is what I've said before to people, is that it becomes a tradition, something that you accept as this is us. This is a Thorabloat song, and this is the Thorabloat song, and this is the song that we're going to sing every year at Thorabloat, because that's what we're going to do. And then it becomes a tradition. It's that simple. All right? You just have to make sure that you do it. You have to make sure that you raise your kids with it. Now, I had somebody go off of me a few weeks ago about that, talking about I was trying to mimic Christian liturgy by telling people that repetition is what makes tradition and all that stuff, but I think that person totally missed the point, and I want to state that here just to clarify the point. I know most people are rolling their eyes, but to clarify that point, it's not about repetition of trying to indoctrinate people. I mean, you look at the Vedas. The Vedas are a liturgy as well, and those liturgies are repeated, and the songs themselves have a lot of repetition in them, and that's just the way it is. I mean, liturgy is there to help people memorize things, not to indoctrinate them. That's not the point. But even then, I mean, what we're doing when we're talking about this, the repetition is not like a literal repetition, like I performed this ritual 500 times today. It's the repetition that at every point at this time, then I do this thing, right? So every year on this date, I'm going to do this thing. Then it becomes a tradition. My kids get raised with it, and it's a tradition to them. It's something that they know and they grew up with, and they know every year to expect it. And it's something that they know is part of their life. And when rites of passage and things like that, people are going to know what's coming because it's part of the tradition. All right. So, so that's it for organizers. Now we're going to look at promoters. Now, promoters, you guys, anybody out there who wants to be a promoter, when you get on this, I mean, you're the ones that are going to help us to get all this going, because we need people involved. Like I said, if we could be looking at 500 folk songs, maybe more, maybe 1,000, I mean, whatever. We're going to have a lot of stuff to sift through, and we need people involved to do it. So, and we need musicians, we need bands, because we're going to need not only to put this stuff to sheet music, but we're going to need people to record this stuff. Because not everybody's going to have a band at their bloat, right? Now, we will obviously want to encourage that, but we're going to want to put out songs, put stuff on YouTube, put stuff out, maybe we can get on Spotify at some point. We want to put these songs out there so that people can use them. And, the sheet music is basically records it. It's going to let us have it where people can have it in their hand and say, okay, this is how this is played. But having the recordings are probably going to be even more valuable, because it's going to make it more accessible to the most people. So we want to talk to bands. We want to talk to established musicians. We want to see if we want to also look at researchers, see if there's anyone else out there doing stuff like this. And we want to reach out to them, ask them where they're at. We want to get the word out on social media, every platform, everywhere. Talk to everybody. Make commercials, make promotions. As long as you're not making us look bad or whatever. I mean, we're fine with that. Just talk to us, let us know what you're doing, show us what you got, and put it out there. The main thing you want to do is stay focused and resolute. Find someone who will be beneficial, and stay on them to see if they're going to be a part of this. I'm not saying hound them and bug them. I'm saying just make sure you don't want to go off in a million different directions, and then and you start losing people, and then everything gets chaotic. We want to make sure this stuff stays as systemized as possible, so that when we have individuals that are involved, however much time they can donate or volunteer for this, that we can utilize that, because it's like a currency. Like the the time that people spend is their time, and time is valuable. And so we want to make sure that when they are offering their time, that we're using that to the maximum benefit, and we want people who are passionate about it, people who are like, yes, this is, and I'm telling you, we've had a great response. People have been messaging me. This is like one of the biggest things that we've been involved with since the Eddas. Because people have just been messaging me and contacting me, and it's been really, really great. And, I'd like to personally thank Edward Ravenheart, because he's helped me to come up with a lot of these ideas and this concept of focusing on one thing and getting this going. This was the idea, and I'm gonna totally accredit to him to that, because he was the one who brought it to me and said, let's just do this, let's just focus just on this, and let's make it happen. And he introduced me, to Aelfric, who I've talked to before, but he was telling me what we're doing. And Aelfric does harp music, and he was with the Otis folk and all that stuff. And these guys are wanting to make this happen, And the idea of just focusing on one thing, which is what I said we would do, but I didn't do, it's working great, because it's getting excitement building, and people are wanting to get involved. And we want you involved. We want all the heathens out there if you're listening to this and you're like, dude, this is what we want to do. This is great. This is a whole new traditional system that we can bring in. It's not just runes and rituals anymore. We now have a full body of lore. We're going to have a full body of music. We're going to eventually move on to dance and diet and nature worship and law and everything. We're not going to stop. This is going to keep going. But the more people that get involved, the more we can do, and the more these projects are going to hash out, so that when you and I and everyone out there who's listening to this are dead, our children will look back and say, man, look what our parents did. Look what our ancestors did. These people are now ancestors because they did this. Not because they posted some stupid ass Viking meme on Facebook, but because they rebuilt our culture and gave it to us like a golden gift. Here you go. Here's an entire culture at your footstep. And that's what we want to do. That's what is going to happen. And we're doing it systematically. We're steamrolling this. And this is what we need for our people. We see all the stuff that's going on in the world around us today, and we just see Western civilization is crumbling all around us. There needs to be a foundation for it to have a footing once it happens, so that people can step up and say, hey, this is who I am. This is my culture now. We're not going to be, embracing Abrahamic religions and all that stuff, because we have a culture now. And that's why they stomped it out in the first place, because when people don't have a culture, you can just do whatever you want with them, and you win because they don't have anything else to turn to. Think about that for a second. You're a musician, all right? Your life is music, and you are a religious person, or spiritual person, whatever you want to say, but you can't really connect because you don't have a culture to connect it to. So what do? You get into vapid, hollow pop music or whatever and just write songs because you like them. This is, and I'm just saying that as an example, but this is why we're doing this, because this is something where a person can say, wow, I can play my instrument and I can play music, and as I'm doing it, I'm worshiping the gods. Like, that's pretty powerful. That's pretty awesome. And we want to do that for everybody. Well, no matter what you're into. If you want to bake cakes, and you love baking cakes, and that's your favorite thing, well, we're going to show you traditional cakes that you can bake. And I'm telling you, we have them. That is like your worship to the gods. It's going to be amazing. Believe me when I say that. I've been looking over this stuff for years and years, and I've been looking over all 12 fundamentals for years and years, and I'm telling you that we can do this for every one of them. Every single aspect can be rebuilt for us, for our faith, for good, and never stopped. All right? So, with that, we end another episode of Sound of the Gjallarhorn. I want to thank everybody for listening to me. Please, please share this. Get this podcast out. This is a way for, somebody to sit there and listen to this, and they'll know what we're doing top to bottom. I've gone into pretty much every detail on this project, on what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. So please get it out there. Please help us to get it out there so that people can know what we're doing, and we get more people involved. All right? So anybody who wants to get in touch with us, you can, private message me on Facebook, Mark Pereer, or you can email me, mark.norroena@gmail.com, or email the society, Norroena Society @gmail.com. It's NORROENASOCIETY @gmail.com. Or you can look at our website, www.norroena.org, NORROENA.org. Message us, email us, contact us. Let us know what your thoughts are. Let us know if you can help with any of our projects, any of our ideas. All right? So with that, I'm going to let everybody go, and you guys have a great night. Sorry. Have a great night, and hail the gods and goddesses.
A house on my father's estate, walled with brick and stone.